Okay, so again, it's Luxury Fred, and we are here with the future. Toyota has brought the future to my house with the Toyota Mirai, and we're here with Tim, and he's going to tell us about the car before I take it out for a weekend and check it out.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, the Toyota Mirai, this is a fuel cell vehicle. The word Mirai is actually a Japanese word for future, and Toyota's been very adamant about saying that this is going to eventually replace gasoline motors. So I'll show you a little bit about the car. First, I'll start with the fueling itself. Now, this car runs on hydrogen instead of gasoline. That's a major distinction. So you're going to see a little bit of a different connector here as far as what you refuel. The refueling process is very similar. In fact, we'll go through it a little bit later today. Where you fuel it from a pump, it takes 3 to 5 minutes, and that gives you a 312-mile range on a tank of hydrogen. So you get great range, longer than any battery electric vehicle on the road right now. And of course, much shorter refueling time. So those are the advantages there. It's also a zero emissions vehicle. You notice we have the clean air stickers down there. That does get you into the carpool lane here in California. That also qualifies you for a few rebates, one of which is a $5,000 state rebate here in California. But on top of that, the clean air vehicle, this is a great car for the environment, and things like that. Now, you'll notice the car itself is around the size of a Toyota Camry, a little bit smaller, but as far as overall length, size of the interior, it's a mid-size sedan, 4-passenger. These are all mono spec, so basically they come fully loaded right from the get-go. So you're going to have all the features and amenities you'd have on the most high-end Toyota that we offer today. I don't know if you want me to show you.
Yeah.
Let me show you what's underneath the hood here. So what you're looking at here is actually the power control unit. So it's basically the computer of the vehicle. It tells the energy where to go, because this is a fuel cell hybrid. So you still have a battery pack on the back. You have your fuel cell stack underneath the front seats. And that's what's generating the electricity that gets fed into the battery. It also gets fed directly to the wheels.
From the hydrogen.
From the hydrogen, exactly. So the fuel cell is actually converting the hydrogen into electricity for your electric motor, which is going to be underneath there. Directly powers your front wheels. So not a whole lot of complexity to the vehicle, not a lot of moving parts, which should pay dividends as far as maintenance costs are concerned. You know, you've got basically electric motor going one way or the other. Fuel cell doesn't have any moving parts. It's got an 8-year, 100,000-mile warranty on it. They design them to last the life of the vehicle.
And I understand, to add to the reliability, the PCU is from a Prius, or is the same one that's used in the Prius. The motor is used in one of the Lexus models.
That's very right. So, yeah, so the Lexus RX hybrids, this is the same electric motor right out of there. As you mentioned, the power control unit is the same one we use in any of our hybrid systems, the same sort of hybrid synergy drive system. So a lot of sharing here, so not only reliability but also costs. Helps keep the costs down. So yeah, and under here you have a few radiators to cool the fuel cell, as well as some of the auxiliary components. But it's all a very well integrated system.
And then you said it's one spec, so there's really no options. It comes with everything.
Basically, your exterior color is the option you'll have. Yeah, everything else is going to be the same. Even the same interior color scheme is going to be the same on all of them, at least as of right now.
Okay, so it's Luxury Fred, and again, we are here in the 2016 Toyota Mirai, which is their amazing hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. I'm going to take it for a drive.
All right, so you got your foot on the brake pedal. We'll go ahead and hit the power button here. That's going to turn us on. And you know that you're ready to go because the little ready sign will come up there. As you notice, you don't really hear anything. It's because you got an electric motor. Only things that are going to be starting up, you've got an air compressor, which you'll probably hear more when we're driving. But it's a very quiet operation, you'll notice, much like a battery electric vehicle. I'll show you a little bit around the car. Obviously up here you've got all your main gauges for your speedometer, your odometer. Here you can toggle through what's on the middle screen here. If you want to look at different things as far as your fuel economy is concerned, there's a lot of different energy guides, so you can utilize the best fuel economy. They even have an eco score thing here. Well, that's fuel consumption record. Different ways to monitor the fuel economy. Obviously, this car has a 67 mile per gallon equivalent, so.
And is it it's always running on the electric motor, but maybe it's running off the battery or directly from the hydrogen. Does it do that?
Correct. So the fuel cell stack can actually directly power the electric motor, and in fact, fuel cell stack's generating all of the electricity. Sometimes the battery pack at low speeds will be powering the car by itself, much like in our hybrid vehicles. But at certain times, like if you're accelerating on the freeway, you might be using both power sources
Right.
because you might need a little extra juice. So the power control unit will determine what you need and when you need it. And depending on the mode you're in, we have an eco mode, we have a power mode, which will change the throttle mapping depending on how you want the car to respond. So you have those things there. Down here, as I just mentioned, those modes, this is your transmission lever. This is all electronically controlled, much like what we have in the Prius and any of our hybrids. These are all touch-sensitive controls for your climate. So when we turn that on, it's going to show you, both of our temperatures, which we can change just by sliding your finger up and down. It's pretty easy. And heated seats, heated steering wheel, those all come standard. And navigation system. This also will showcase to you, well, this is actually just showcasing, that's really more than we need right now. This is showcasing different gas stations, but it can also find hydrogen stations for you through the app.
Okay. And I've been reading about the infrastructure, the hydrogen infrastructure plan for California. Is there a similar one that will eventually be nationally? Or is it state by state? Or
at the moment, it's a state-by-state sort of thing, or region-by-region. California is the only state that's actually put any money into this at the moment. $200 million grant is funding the majority of the stations that are being built currently.
Right.
But that being said, the Northeast is working on about a dozen stations right now. So 5 states, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut,
Right.
are planning to build about 12 stations. The initial plan was to have them completed by the end of this year, so that we would be able to put a few Mirais on the road there.
Right.
I don't know if the timeline's still along with that yet, but that is the last plan that I heard.
Okay.
Aside from those 2 regions, I don't have any solidified plans. I'm sure they're working on them, and obviously the idea is to get this put out nationally as quickly as possible, but right now it's going to be probably a region-by-region thing.
And is the car sold in other countries? Is there more infrastructure in other parts of the world?
Yeah, so the first place it went on sale was actually in Japan. They started selling them in Japan early in 2015. Started production late 2014. So they produced them in Japan. They started putting them on the road there first. California was the second market, but the Northeast, few parts of Europe, and even Hawaii are supposed to be getting the car either this year or maybe early next year.
Okay.
Yeah, so they are building it out based on where the infrastructure is being put. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ready?
Let's do it. So yeah, to put in drive, just pull that towards you and tap it down into the D position, and you'll know it's there once that lights up on D.
Pull.
So pull it towards you and then down. There you go. We're in drive.
And there's no parking brake, or it's not set?
Appears it's not set, so you are good to go.
So this is my first time driving the car, and the first impression is it feels like driving any other car, which I think is part of the point.
Yeah, I wanted to feel very much like a conventional vehicle.
And it's got a nice mass feel to it, a nice solid feel that's a little more than what I would expect. You know, it feels more solid than a Corolla, no offense.
I'm taken. Well, it does have a considerable amount more sound insulation, not only in the floors and the doors. You'll notice when you open and close the doors, they have a solid thunk to them. So it really was designed as more of a premium vehicle from the get-go. You know, the car was already incredibly quiet, but then you bring in the additional sound insulation, the laminated windshield, laminated side glass.
I guess that is what I'm noticing. Like immediately you feel that, or you sense that.
Yeah, this is, in the Toyota lineup, it'd be most comparable to an Avalon. even a Lexus ES as far as levels of refinement.
Right.
So yeah, it could easily have been badged a Lexus, but they chose to make it a Toyota vehicle.
And do you talk about how many are on the road right now in California?
I hear in California, I haven't heard the most recent one. I know by the end of last year, I think we had delivered around 70. So it's probably over 100 by now. But that's determined completely by you know, where people had ordered them and if the stations were available yet.
I see.
So they are currently opening new stations, a couple every month. The original plan was to have around 50 stations by the end of this year.
Right.
I'm not sure where they're at as far as their target there, but there's somewhere around 20 stations open already, so that's a possible target.
Okay, so it's Luxury Fred, and welcome to the future. Driving in the Toyota Mirai, which is their hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. And we're on the 405 here, just filled it up with some hydrogen. It's a station in West LA, a Chevron right by the 405 and Santa Monica Boulevard that sells hydrogen. One of the benefits of owning one of these Toyota Mirais is you get 3 years of free fuel, 3 years of free hydrogen. And took about 5 minutes to fill the car up, and that gives us about 300 miles of range now. And just cruising again down the 405 and really liking the luxurious aspect to this car, that it's not an economy car, that no offense to the Prius and some of the other Toyotas, it's got a more luxurious feel to those economy models. I'm understanding it's got more sound deadening, it's got double pane windows, or what did you say?
It's a laminated windshield.
Laminated windshield.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that, I guess.
So you've got car just has a much quieter feel. Got nice leather seats.
These are actually Softex. It's our synthetic leather. It's plant-based. So
Yeah,
it's a bit
but
more environmentally friendly, but
that feels like leather.
it does, doesn't it?
And just a very nice ride, and a very quiet ride. And again, the sound dampening and the quietness was something that I noticed as soon as we started driving, that it has the feel of a more of a nice luxury car in terms of that comfort and how quiet it is.
How does the handling feel to you?
Handling feels great. Never a big fan of front wheel drive. This is front wheel drive?
Is this front wheel?
Yes. But very good road feel, very solid feel in the steering wheel and the suspension and things like that, but very nice ride also. Okay, so it's Luxury Fred, and again we are driving the new Toyota Mirai, their hydrogen fuel cell vehicle, and we're going to fill it up with some hydrogen. We're here with Tim from Toyota, who's going to tell us, show us exactly how to do it. So driven here, there's a series of stations around California, and put the car in park, turned it off. Now we're going to fill it up.
Take it from there. So we showed you the filling layout before, but the pump's actually going to clamp right onto this thing, and I'll show you part of the incentives for the new Toyotas. For the new Mirais, you'll get 3 years or up to $15,000 worth of complimentary fill-ups. Toyota just gives you your own fuel card. And system is very much the same as regular gas thing. It does ask you one additional question here in the front. Have you been trained to use this equipment? We're going to go ahead and say yes.
So there's two selections of hydrogen, H35 and H70.
Yeah. Now that has to do with the pressure at which the hydrogen's being pumped. These tanks hold a pressure of up to 10,000 psi. That's what this is basically. The 70 has to do with the mega amperes. It
Right.
kind of correlates. But you'll want the higher pressure because if you use the lower pressure, it'll still fill up, but only halfway.
Okay.
So basically, this allows you to get more fuel into the tanks. So this, you'll notice, this is what the pump looks like. This is actually going to clamp right onto here. Pretty simple, you just kind of shove it in here. Don't have to be gentle with it. And then you're going to pull the handle up, which is going to lock it into place.
Okay.
Now, as long as there's a proper seal that's been made, this will be able to start fueling after we lift up this lever. First, I think I might have to push that button first, and then lift this on up. Select pressure button, H70. There it goes.
Okay, so we heard kind of a gentle whoosh as it started.
And in fact, it takes one moment because there's infrared sensors on the pump and the car itself to make sure that there's no leakages of hydrogen. If the seal is not completely intact, the car won't pump. It'll tell you if there's a problem. You may have to reconnect it. Or, you know, if something happens to be wrong with the pump at that time, then it'll just shut down the pumps so that there's no leakages of hydrogen. So basically now that we're done, we're just going to release the pump from the car itself. There's a little button right here that releases the handle.
And it's beeping and it says replace nozzle, so that's how we know it's finished.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So we'll pull this back, that'll pull the handle down, just slide this off, and wow, you can actually see a little bit of the ice that was formed from the fueling process. Turn this right back around, put the handle down, and nozzle replaced. It should stop beeping at us. You're welcome. So yeah, there it is.
That's it.
That's how you refuel a hydrogen vehicle.